One last topic I want to briefly address before we complete this chapter is to talk a bit about coding conventions used in Objective-C. I won't discuss this topic in great detail as 1, I'll be illustrating these conventions throughout this course, and 2, Apple provides a very comprehensive guide on this topic. At the end of the video, I'll tell you where you can find that guide. Now, every programming language has its own set of conventions, and Objective-C is certainly no different. In fact, conventions are really even more important in Objective-C than they may be in other languages, as there's often technical implications behind them. We've seen this as it relates to initializers. Initializers are really just regular methods, but they play a role similar to the role a constructor would play in other languages like C++ and Java. But by convention, we know that these are special and shouldn't be treated like other methods. Let's look at some general conventions that you should always adopt. Classes always begin with an uppercase letter, and they're a camel case throughout. So for instance, we have an application delegate and a main view controller. So be sure to adopt these casing conventions as you're writing new classes. Methods always begin with a lowercase letter, and they're a camel case throughout. This may be a convention you already use, but if you're coming from a language like C#, for instance, you may be used to a slightly different convention for methods. Now, Objective-C has no notion of packages or namespaces, and this has always been a personal frustration of mine when coding in Objective-C, because you inevitably run into some sort of name collision. But naming collisions are avoided using prefixes in Objective-C. Some of the common ones you'll encounter are NS. All of our foundation classes use this prefix. This NS prefix comes from the fact that the foundation classes originated with NextStep. UI, all of our UI kit classes, so things like view controllers and all of our user interface elements. CG for core graphics or Quartz, this is the 2D drawing API we use. And CA for core animation. You can also use custom prefixes to avoid naming collisions in your own code as well. Now, as I said, I'm not going to go into this topic in great depth. Instead, I'll refer you to the coding guidelines for Cocoa. And this document is available either from the iOS Dev Center, or if you open up the organizer and go to the documentation browser, you can find that there as well. This will go into great depth about naming conventions for classes, methods, properties, and we'll discuss the various conventions you should adopt. Some of these are stylistic, and some of these actually have some technical implications to them. But read the guidelines and use them in the code that you write, and you'll be well on your way to creating some well-crafted Objective-C code.